Hey, Brett here. Episode 2, Paradox Diaries. So, this is just a collection of thoughts, practices, physical, mental, and all about models. And really, the biggest model is after I do this, I'm going to start shaking. All right. So, feet parallel, if you can, knees bent, relax your sacrum down. There we go. Now, push your head up for a second. Maybe you get a pop in your spine. Okay, now go ahead and let your chest relax and just start bouncing on your legs just lightly. Play with it. Figure out what works for you. You might turn side to side. Pay attention to your joints. Now, I like to generally hold my arms, and the reason I do that, it occurs to me, I was asked that, I just like to I'm getting some good wrist action in here. If you have tight wrists, there's a good pose you can do. It's called reverse dog. And imagine you're sitting in the tabletop. All right, so I've got my hands in front of me, pointing forward, like this. In fact, I'll show you that. And then I do this. And then I do that. So that's an example of a really good stretch that will get your wrists to sort of be able to flop pretty nicely. So I want to remind you that's a metaphor as well. The whole idea here is we just kick-started, bootstrapped, primed to pump, created a stable system or a semi-stable system. Certainly it was non-existent, it wasn't doing anything, and then some paradox, it got some new information, it spun out of control, and finally it's resting. It had some kind of amazing awareness, it's found its stable destination, and it's still going. You may not, I don't think you can hear it because I'm guessing this is canceling my headphones, or sorry, canceling my the noise. But it's going to go for a while. We'll see. So in Observer tonight, and remember the triad: observer, observed, observation. In fact, I'm going to digress for a second. One of the classic tricks of a Zen koan is, first of all, remember that triad, is to give you a statement and then leave out one of those. Or you have to infer to figure it out. So let's look at the classic. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Okay, so let's break it down. We need the observer, the observed, and the observation. What is the sound? That sounds like an observation of one hand clapping. That seems like the observed. Okay, so again, observer. Right now, if you're watching this, you're the observer. Observed. You could say your phone. You could say this video. Observation. What the hell is he talking about? Plausible. But in the Zen koan, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Who's asking the question? Whoever's asking the question, that's the answer. And so that's one answer. So a reasonable response would be, who's asking? Or, I like this one even better. What did you hear? And so what I'm doing is I'm projecting the same ambiguity onto the asker by saying, I'm assuming that it's you who is asking the question because it's you who made the observation. So that's an answer. But that three things, this is a really good linguistic trick. And I think I got this from either Jerry Weinberg or Virginia Satir. But remember that triad, because when you're in a conversation, if you can't place all three of those things, something's off, right? And if you think about it, you need 3 points to make a stable plane in 3-dimensional space. I think Euclidean space. I don't know if it works in non-Euclidean space. I don't remember anymore. But those 3 things, in fact, I'm looking at a camera tripod right there. It's got 3. Why? Because that's a balance. 3 gives you balance. Coincidence? Who cares? The number 3 keeps coming up. And that was another reminder from last night. And so let's see. The number tonight what was the number tonight? It was really low. I think it was 19. So the number tonight is 19, a prime number, a really good prime number. So now I'm going to move on to file systems. Observer. I want to talk about file systems because, well, I don't want to talk about file systems. That's just it. This is really all about models. But Think about a disk. So on a disk, you got a directory, simple enough. And then under that directory, you have directories. And under that directory, you have directories, and so on and so forth. It's just a simple hierarchy, top to bottom. It's one way, typically one way, not always. Depends on the file system. So that's a hierarchical structure. Another is recursive or self-referential. I'll get there in a second. I'm getting, so what I'm doing, I'm going to go into like the body for just a second. I'll come back to the file systems. So I have a little bit of a spot in my back, and I'm going to be talking later a little bit about body maintenance, but I'm noticing I want to get just a little, I've got my head just a little bit back, and that allows me to sort of get a bit of a rest on the back, right, like right on the, right in the rotator cuff and then the trapezius. So right about here back there. And so what I'm doing is I'm letting my arms kind of, so right now I've got my arms partially held, so I'm not letting full weight, but if I just let my arms drop and then maybe speed up a little bit, there, I'm getting a nice little loosening. So I will go back to the file system, but I haven't said anything about what we're doing. This is just called shaking, Qigong shaking. Now, it helps every system in your body. And I'm someone who's practiced meditation and I've analyzed meditation. And the only reason I'm saying that is I have a sense of what meditation does and so on. And I've talked about it before, helped me with a certain internal martial arts form. And this is doing every bit as much as meditation and more. And I mean that. So my sleep is better. Let's start with that. So one of the reasons why my sleep is better, if you have to get up in the night and go to the restroom, a lot of times that's because accumulation of water in your legs. So here I'm bouncing. I'm pumping the lymph system. I'm moving stuff through my system. So really, I'm aiding all that processing. And so by the time I'm in bed, I don't have to go to, I won't have to urinate. So, and let me give you an example. There have been times where I'm up every hour and a half. And now normally I'll go to bed and I'll wake up maybe 6-7 hours later. And then sometimes not even that. So it's outstandingly better sleep. So if you want to sleep, and again, just as a reminder, the initial paradox, I'll call it that. And again, a paradox is just something that makes you aware of something else. I'm just going to call it that. And really, the reason it's a paradox is you go from I don't know to I don't know. And that's a big change. And if you think about it, when you go from zero information to one information, that's infinite. But what happens when you go to non-awareness of the information to no information? That's infinite again, right? So big numbers. Let's see, file systems, hierarchical. They can be loopy, right? They can loop back. You can move symbolic links. But a file system is a directed, top to bottom, acyclic, it doesn't point back on itself, graph. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm not, honestly, so I'm going to go into process just for a second. As I was doing something other work, I just started thinking about file systems. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to put file systems in the first category. And now I know why I put down file systems. So there are 3 classic recursive algorithms: in order, pre-order, post-order. And really, here's the simple way to think about it. Imagine my head is labeled H, and my right hand, that might be confusing. I'm going to do it anyway. My right hand is R, and my left hand is L. Pre-order, if you were to use the recursive algorithm pre-order, let me tell you what the answer is first. Pre, right, head, left, pre. Now, you can probably guess what post does, and you'd be right if you did. Post is left, head, right. What's in order? Left, head, right. So first of all, in order, pre-order, post-order. That's not the only way, and there's lots of other stuff, but honestly, if you can get that, that is, I'm going to guess, I have no idea about this, but I'm going to guess that that is sufficient for traversal. I mean, okay, so it is, except that we're talking about acyclic, not cyclic graphs. So I'll stop nerding out here. But anyway, there's some recursive algorithms. So if you know that, let's say you're walking a graph and you want to do in order or post order or pre order. Doesn't really matter. Wait, in, pre, and post. Yeah. So imagine you've got three functions. All right, three functions: print, left, and right. I should have said right, left. Print, left, right. So if you put print first, you're printing right first, pre-order. Can you see where this is going? If you put print last, you're going to print left first, post-order. And if you put it in the middle, you get the middle. So there you go. There's recursion. Those are three basic recursive algorithms. If you can hold those in your head long enough, let me tell you what's going to happen. As you start to try to think recursively, it requires more working memory in your system one. And so essentially, it's mental calisthenics. And I actually mean that in a little literal sense. So I brought up the Zen Koan earlier. What is the sound of one hand clapping? And there's lots of really interesting ways to answer that. It's really quite easy. The one answer that I flat out reject is emptiness, because nothing. Silence is kind of it's a weak answer. And if you want to know why, ask me in the comments. But anyway, so you've got recursion. If you can think through those, and I would really recommend multimodal. So write down a graph, write down things, and then in your hand, follow it. Okay, so that's just something. Because once you can start to grasp two levels of recursion, it allows your system one to actually hold more memory. Because it allows, imagine in your brain is not a directed acyclic graph. It's a nearly full, it's a massively connected graph. But we don't need to worry about that, because for the purpose of this discussion, directed acyclic is going to be sufficient. If you can think about it just metaphorically, here we go. This is directed acyclic, like that. Or you can think of a spider web. Well, that's a little cyclic. But anyway, hang on for a second. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and switch modes a little bit. I'm going to just sort of do some shoulder rolls to stretch my shoulder. Then I'm going to back the other way. I'm doing a lot of extra long shaking, and then I'm doing the neck isometrics routine. I think take that off for now. That is something that stimulates my vagus nerve. And by stimulating my vagus nerve along with breath work and Qigong, I'm bringing my stress down, and I'm long-term helping my A1C, et cetera, et cetera. So and I've talked about that a bunch. So recursion, what we're doing by practicing recursion is allowing our brain to make two hops, basically, right? So right now, your brain learns linear thinking early on. If this, that kind of thing. And by the way, this is a metaphorical model. I think it's actually somewhat close to development, but I'm explaining that if you can start to learn about recursion, then that's like another level, and it'll actually amplify your processing power. It genuinely will. Personal experience. I mean, I can remember the time when certain things clicked, and I have some visual, for example, November 11th, 1989, 3:01 p.m. Let's see, it was Central Standard Time. I was on the third floor of the University of Iowa Engineering Building. I was talking to my friend Keith. He was wearing, blue overalls. And I'm embarrassed to say at that time I had a mullet. It didn't last long. I'm sad I did that. I genuinely am. It was awful. Anyway, so Keith asked me a question, and we were both in a class on object-oriented programming. We were learning small talk. I also was doing some research assistant stuff, and I was learning C++. So at the same time, I was learning two different object-oriented programming languages. And the thing is, you add recursive from algorithms, and then you add structural recursion. And when you have one of those, either one of those are the same. It's when you have recursion and structural recursion, that second level, that'll snap most of your brains until you practice something like this. So why? This is a gentle way to strengthen your brain. And when you do that, when you start having more complicated representations or models you're trying to hold in your system, what that will do is that will basically form stronger bonds between system one and system two. And a good way to think about it, there's electricity flowing, right? Chemicals and so on. And so basically, I'm thinking about chemical burns. So system one is reaching out for some information, and it keeps trying to find stuff, and it starts to find stuff, and then that pattern gets a little worn in. And then once you have a little bit of recursion, just basic recursion, now what happens is it can go 2 levels deep into the file system known as your brain, right? And then it can effectively, here's the thing, it's not doubling. So if you have a graph that has on average, let's just say 10, right? So yeah, you don't have left and right, you have, I don't know, 0 through 9, right? So I'm at the top and I have 10 below. What if I have 10 more at each of those? That's 100. What if I have 10 more? Then 1,000. All right. So that's an example. This is, I'm going to guess it's something to do with natural logarithm. It grows a lot faster. So there's a lot of connections. So when you add a second level, you don't double the capacity of your brain to basically bring a little bit more active working memory in. You exponentially grow it. So actually, you do double it, but it's a logarithmic scale. It's not a linear scale. And if you don't understand that, just look at pictures so that you can train your brain. Because a lot of what we're doing here is we're giving our system one lots of patterns to look at. And if you can do that over time, over years, you basically train your brain to see things. And what I mean by see things is it looks for patterns and it pre-projects possible patterns into, for example, your visual cortex. And then you're more likely to spot those things. And that's actual. And in fact, just to tie this back to Eastern stuff, if you're able to occasionally see flashes in your visual cortex, it's about here, and then it's in, right? I also have just above my eye, I don't actually see anything, but I can tell that I'm putting models out here, and I actually manipulate them, right? And that's just because that's what my visual cortex does. And I took it for granted, but that's what's happening. So and when I do that, I like to have my eyes closed because that calms things down. All right. Now, I'm going to do some more neck isometrics. I'm getting a bit distracted by this stream of consciousness. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and nudge myself by going to the next one. And this is exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm going to show you a way to help your back. I'm going to show a couple different ways. So I'm going to go down. I'm really changing levels here for a second. Let's get back into the body. And honestly, this is really all about the body. Shaking is a great baseline tool because it flushes your system, it resets everything, and it basically is like a switch. And it's like, imagine you've got this huge switch, and if you can switch it down, your body goes into storage mode. Now, it actually isn't like on and off. It's so up is sympathetic, down is parasympathetic. The more you can get into parasympathetic and the more you can release your body actually, that combination turns down the noise in your body. And when I say that, I literally mean that. You can think of your brain as just a global network that's just, always on, and, different nodes are fighting for attention. Your nervous system, same thing. So there's electromagnetic fields all around you, measurable, and it's congruent with your heart and the blood flow in your brain, right? So that's measurable. That's just science. So let me get to what I said I was going to do. Body maintenance. So I have a back injury right here. I fell off a train bridge when I was what 14? It was 1981. It was only 17 feet, and I fell between two cross members, and I managed to land on dirt. My bike landed on cement about here. So that was my first near-death experience. I have back problems, but actually it doesn't bother me that much. However, my back is not healed. My back is maintained, and that's something I have to accept. You have to work from where you're at. And so by doing certain stretches, I can repair my body so that it has sufficient support and flexibility to not hurt. And that's what I'm doing right here. So the shaking, this is sort of like the base process. And there's a lot of things going on there in terms of what the shake does in the body. And also your body shakes you. At night, your body releases thermal energy and you shake, you shiver. And again, if you do this kind of stuff and you calm down your system, you feel those. And I didn't realize, I thought I was cold. No, no. And now that I know what it is, that I get these shivers, that's just my body blowing off steam. That's all it is. It's not, it's a mechanical process. And when you do a lot of parasympathetic work, your body's able to do a lot of just letting stuff go throughout the day instead of holding it tight and then having to. And really, now we can go into lean. We're talking about small batch, right? And the way you maintain small batch is you have low whip. And by having a low whip, you can start and finishing things. And by doing that, you're staying focused. And that means your brain doesn't have to do as much work. So you can make everything calm down. So you can talk about lean software development. You can talk about your body. It's the same damn thing. There's no difference. Yes, I know there are differences, but you can model them at least 80% the same and get a hell of a lot of value. And since everything's a model, everything is empty, let's talk about utility rather than correctness. Anyway, so I'm using a lot of pillows here. What I'm going to try to do is get about here, just below my shoulder blades, so that I can basically get this right here. Now I can do it, but the muscles are sore. So I'm going to really stretch them, and then they'll sort of get back into place. I have to do this every so often. Once a week is enough. I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. And I'm going to talk in detail about how to actually do this pose, because this is a doozy. Actually, before I get into it, every time you get into this pose, it's awkward. I've been doing it for 3-4 years. I don't know. It's just awkward. But once you get into it, it's stable. And then it's awkward to get out. It's very much, honestly, it's exactly like the gyroscope. It's the same thing, right? I had to put a string in, I had to wind it up, and then and then it goes for a while, and then it's done. Same thing. I'm going to have to do a bunch of work, get into this weird pose that it's going to help my back. Now I'm too low. So higher, higher. Got to put some energy in. Haven't got any value out yet, so I'm priming the pump. All right. Now, I've got a good lineup right here. I'm not quite symmetrical. There. Yeah, I think that'll work. So if you have trouble with your neck, I'm starting the timer now. If you have trouble with your neck, I'm going to show you something, but every solution introduces new problems. So I'm going to put my hands together. I'm going to put them like so, and then I'm going to put my hand here. I want my elbows pointing back. Now I'm getting a heck of a stretch in my armpits and my arms. This actually intensifies the pose. So it's actually hard to do. But you can also, I mean, if you want to, keep the arms like this or like this. Keep the elbows pointing back. And you can do this if you have to. And that's my other injury. In, I think, 1986, I had my head turned to the side and got rear-ended at a stoplight and messed up my neck. Used to give me migraines. Twice a week when I traveled in daily headaches. Those are gone. But if I stop maintaining, it'll come right back. So, oh, hey, Chesh, how you doing? Come here. Buddy. Now, I don't recommend being asymmetrical like this, but I'm not going to do it for very long. And also, I'm not into the pose very long yet. So my muscles are just getting warmed up. So now, let's talk about the nervous system some more. Oh, geez, maybe I need to really bend instead. Okay, I'm really too deep to start with. I'll come back to that. So If I go too fast, my nervous system is going to go whoosh and stop the reflex response. The sarcomeres, or rather the spindles next to the sarcomeres, are going to go, nope. And so I don't want that to happen. There we go. So what I'm doing with my nervous system is right now I have a little discomfort and I have a kitty. Come here, kitty. And my body doesn't want to do this. My nervous system's like, okay, I'm going to try to get you out of this. And so now the question is, do I have enough ego, will, desire, drive, paradox to sit in discomfort? And the answer is, I have such positive associations with this specific kind of discomfort in these stretches because of what it's done to my body that I actually get endorphins. It's still uncomfortable, but this is an ongoing regenerative process, which has some pretty amazing effects. If you do something like this and you add shaking, that combination. So shaking is homeostatic. It brings you into center. It also loosens your joints, gets the synovial fluid, pumps your lymphs. I know I've always said that, but really shaking is just, I accidentally started doing it more consistently. And as I said, I'm sleeping better. My brain is not overloading as much. So I'm being able to keep more thoughts simultaneously. And remember that recursion stuff I talked about earlier? I've managed to keep 3 levels of recursion. So I've got recursion, self-reference, finally figured out, and infinite regress is comfortable now. So I can maintain those things, which means my system 1 has had enough experience with those kinds of thoughts that it's able to compress that information and make it accessible. And I'll tell you what it's like when I'm working on any kind of software project and we're talking about structures. I have a visualization, typically either about here, but it's behind my ocular alert node or something like here. So as I hear something, my brain just chunks that into, okay, that's recursive. And if you think about it, if you have middle, top, and bottom, there's that triad again, right? So you have one level up, one level down, and in the middle, if you move a level, you can go another level and you can sort of get back. And so what happens is with this recursive structure, the system 1 is able to pan through and activate more of the brain. And what it does is as you're going through it, it just sort of compresses stuff in the background into little visual cues in your ocular nerve. And if you do enough parasympathetic work and breath work, and stretching work, I'm really getting all my intercostal muscles are getting a really big stretch right now. But if you do that work, every so often you can see pre-flashing of expected imagery, and you're making contact with your subconscious. It's pretty cool, actually, but it's all biomechanical. However, and not to come out of this, it's awkward. Every time it's a new adventure, you think maybe I can drop my legs and let's see if I can do it this time. Sometimes I can. Okay, I'm almost out. Okay, now I'm going into stretch for a second. After you've done this, your back is really stretched. You've destabilized it. So you had a relatively stable system. You've just relaxed it. So you might have turned off the nervous system a little bit, and you also might have really stretched the muscles, and they take a little bit to get back. So careful moving out. Okay. Now I'm going to do some more stretching later, but that's the stretch for now. I already did that. Oh well. I already gave the one hand clapping thing, didn't I? I didn't mean to do that so far away. All right, so let's go ahead and I started talking about doing some neck isometrics. I'll just do that. Take glasses here. Okay, so we're going to just do 30 seconds. That's a good amount. And before I get into this, I'm going to do a number of things, the minimum. So let's start with the basic. That's it. Just push. Make sure you're not feeling any piercing or pointing pressure. And what I want you to feel for feedback that you know it's working is you feel a bit of something right here, your trapezius, or maybe a little up here. So hopefully you feel a little bit. And the more you can relax the opposite side, the more you might maybe feel that. Okay, great. Now I've got it all the way down there. If you want to do more, what I'll do is, actually, let me do this. There we go. No, that's too much time. What I'm going to do is I'll take you through the entire process, top to bottom. If you don't want to do the entire process, all you have to do is push on your head. Sitting is fine. If you work your feet up with me, we'll work up to actually almost engaging the whole core. Maybe, and it takes a while. You've got to do some stretching, but if you get the process down, then you can start to feel where you need to work. So what you're doing is, this is a paradox tool. We're going to go through a process. You're going to get some information about your body, and then you can choose to use that or not. So this should probably be an opening tool, but if you do too much, it could be a closing tool. Like opening is giving you options and possibilities. Closing is reducing possibilities. However, don't put any value on that, because sometimes you need opening and sometimes you need closing. For example, an opening move is what I just did. A closing move is running. Right? Yin and yang. It's not one or the other. It's balance between the two based on what you need in the moment. Anyway, okay. So having said all that, got my feet parallel, knees are slightly bent. In fact, I'll turn sideways for this first one. All right. Now, this, for years, I would push this down, and that's a good thing because I feel a little bit of stretching here. If instead you can relax it down, and it's hard to do, especially I can't do it when I'm talking about it. I'll just admit that. Maybe a little bit. Two things. So in the first form, I feel it in my heels. In the second form, I almost feel like my feet are going like that. I'm getting a better engagement with the floor. Better ligament engagement is what you're getting more of the ligament down into the foot engaged. So that's good. It'll come. It took me, I don't know, 12 years, 13 years. So don't worry about it. Knees bent. Now you can go further or so on. If you bend them, you're going to get a little bit of engagement here. It doesn't seem like much, but if you do this like practice Tai Chi 3 times a week, you're going to get really good, strong muscles. They won't look strong, but they're going to be strong. Okay, now I'm gabbing. Okay, here we go. And feet parallel, about hip width apart. They can be wider. Knees slightly bent. Relax. This also helps if you can relax your thighs so that the sacrum can drop. I'm going to push my fontanelle up in right hand, and I'm going to push. Here we go. Pushing. Okay, now as I actively try to relax, there is a paradox right there. I'm actively relaxing. Really what I'm doing is I'm trying to just do nothing. There we go. That's better. Now I think I'm leaning forward a little bit, and that's fine. Don't lose your balance. Again, chair is fine. Holding on to the wall is fine. Okay, I'm pushing my head up and dropping my shoulders. And you pushing the head up, drop the shoulders, and relax. Slowly come out. 50%. You don't want to hold too tight there. It's you certainly can. And here's the thing: you don't know what your edge is until you hit it. So slow and steady allows you to get closer to the edge and hit the edge rather than like just completely obliterating it, like doing damage, right? And as you get older, you need to worry about stuff like that. It's not quite as bad as the movie Death Becomes Her, but it's not so much hyperbole. Okay, feet parallel, knees bent. I'm gonna relax my sacrum and also relaxing my calves if I can, and might feel a little bit of stretch in your hamstring. I did that again. Hip flexors. Left hand on the left side. Oh, I actually smell. Okay, here we go. Relaxing right side. Now, on these poses, I do tend to get to the point where I'm engaging and pushing my sacrum down. Normally, I want to relax if I'm doing something like a yang form like Tai Chi or the He Ba Fa. But in this case, this is yang. It's not a heavy yang, but it is engaging. So it's okay to sort of engage and get your whole system kind of working. Head up, push up at the fontanelle, shoulders down. And there we go. Okay. front and back. For front and back, hands interlaced. Now, if you really want to be OCD, first one way, second one the other way. That is, right now my right pinky's on the bottom. Now my left pinky is on the bottom. And it still feels awkward to do that. So in fact, since I'm awkward, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, here we go again. Feet parallel, hip width apart, knees slightly bent. Relax the fontanelle, relax your thighs. Maybe you can actually push your sacrum down, push your head up. And then interlace your hands on your forehead and push. Push your head up at the fontanelle. The fontanelle is that tip. It's about a third of the way from the back, above the tips of the ears. It's a soft spot in the baby's head. You want to push that up and pull your shoulders down. And then if you also do push your sacrum down, what you're doing is you've got your ligaments and tendons acting on your hip down. That's your first bow in Tai Chi. And then by pushing your head up and your shoulders down actively, you're doing this with your spine and also engaging the second bow of Tai Chi. Now back. Same thing. Feet parallel, knees bent. Interlace hands. This time just above the atlas. You don't want to feel any kind of piercing or hot stuff or anything like that. No tingling. So be careful, and also be gentle. Again, here's the thing. Most people think in terms of events. When something happens, that is like the definition of suffering. You're not. So what you want to do is you want to structure things so that they're more likely to happen. But what I'm really, I got off target there. What I'm really saying is, this isn't a fix. It's maintenance. It is actually a fix in the sense that if you do it and you have issues, it should help you. When I say what is it? Basic shaking is the only thing I'd say everyone can do. But again, maybe not you. But all the other things are things you need to try. Like that back thing, it took me a long time to get to where I could do that comfortably. And I had to release my back. It took about 3.5 years of deep stretching because I fell off the train bridge. So it might not take you that long. Finally, the most important, not most important, but certainly an important one. Top the head, push up. Push your shoulders down. Okay, now feet parallel, knees bent. I'm more actually pushing my hip flexors forward and pushing up. Okay, I have to bring my head just a little bit forward because I was feeling a little bit. You really want your thoracic spine just like straight up. So you're pushing your fontanelle in. Did I already? Yeah, there we go. And relax. Okay, now, having done that, forward fold, we've just compressed our spine, right? We sort of worked on this side of the spine, then we worked on this side of the spine, then we worked on this side of the spine. Notice I'm making yin yang, by the way. And then we worked on this side of the spine. And that's also a Bagwell palm change, or palm. Okay, so I'm going to do a forward fold. I'm not going to do a full stretch. This is a great stretch if you want to work on your hamstrings and your calves. And also it's good to release your spine. So since I'm only worried right now about releasing my spine, I wouldn't normally do the full pose, but I got time. I'm going to do a short version. If I'm going to do it, I might as well do it. Okay. Now, I'm doing these for 5 minutes. You do not need to do these for 5 minutes. 2 minutes is actually what you want to get to. Why 2 minutes, Brett? So whatever part of your body you're working on, right now I've got a little bit of discomfort. Your body is not interested in doing this because your body wants to do what it's been doing. So what you're doing is you're introducing a little jiggle into your system. You're saying, hey, here's a little bit of something that's discomforting. And the autonomic system's like, hey, what have I done to you? Why are you doing this to me? And you're like, no, it's okay, dude. Seriously, what's going to happen is we're gonna find the edge where I can stretch to, and then go just a little bit farther. And so that conversation takes a couple minutes. And once the
autonomic system says, okay, fine. That is, you've calmed down. You're using your breath to relax into the moment. What you'll find is that things start to relax and release deeper and deeper. Now, it's not a continuous thing. It's a genuine undulation. You go deeper and deeper, and then sometimes you come out. Now, if you breathe with your belly and you extend your diaphragm, if you're not doing this and you're watching, I'm going to take a really big breath. I'm going to actually exhale real deeply, and then I'm going to take a deep breath in and watch as my back moves. I'm going to take a really slow inhale. And then I can relax into it slowly. And so you can integrate your breath into modest movement. And that's good because your muscles have lots and lots of fibers, and they don't all release at once. They don't all flex at once. And so we're relaxing and relaxing. Think about like an expansive. You go into a room, and inside that room is another room that's even bigger. And inside that room is another room that's even bigger. And that's what we're doing. We're sort of putting space into our muscle fibers. We're actually getting them to fully relax. Now, do you like to fully relax? Because guess what? Your muscle fibers like to fully relax. And so all we're doing is at the little, we're giving individual muscle fibers a massage. 2 minutes is a good amount of time. 5 minutes, at 5 minutes, that's probably enough for most things. You can certainly stay longer, but a massage can be too long, right? So 5 minutes. The big exception is hips because there's so many muscles, so many connective tissues, and also there's a biological imperative to protect that area because the reproductive organs are there. And so there's a bigger psychological aspect to it. So when we talk about breathing, I already mentioned the belly, and it's not just woo-woo. When you breathe into your belly, you're doing several things. Thing one, you're stimulating your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve and vagal help are a big deal. When I used the number 19 at the very beginning, I was talking about my heart rate variability, which is really low for me, but I can tell because I'm tired and I'm a little frazzled and I haven't been sleeping enough. And so I'm getting biofeedback that I need more sleep. So breathing, 4-8 ratio. The 4-8, exhaling longer than inhaling, will also generally work with that stimulation of your parasympathetic nervous system to calm you down. And as you calm down in discomfort and stand or sit in discomfort, you're training your body to take more. And as you keep doing it, your body adjusts and it keeps adjusting. The other thing, in addition to your vagus nerve, you're moving your body gently. Also, the synchronization of different parts of your body is soothing and healing to your brain. Okay, now to come out of this, in any of these stretches, you don't want to use the muscle that you just stretched. Now, I'm a bit stretched back here, but not too bad, and my back's a little stretched. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bend my knees, give myself some support. Notice I already have some support right here. And now I'm fine. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to measure my heart rate variability, and I'll report back last night. Last night, it was about the same. It went down by 43 to 42. But 40 is about where I tend to go to bed. So I'm going to do a little more shaking, get a final reset, just sort of a general clear everything out. And then the Paradox Diaries will be over tonight.
The rambling is because I enjoy doing it. And also, I'm processing a lot of things and trying to work on getting models. And talking through things is a mode of learning. If you've ever heard of rubber ducking, that's what it is. If you think things, you're thinking generally in certain parts of the brain. If you talk, you're using a different part of the brain. And so that combination, especially the combination, makes things often click because you're firing up more of the brain. And as a result, more blood flow, more energy usage, probably higher astrocytic calcium fluctuation, maybe depending on if it's stressful or if it's more flow like. Okay, here we go. I'm tingling all over. I feel good. My back feels better, but it's never going to be, it will actually be perfect when I'm dead. Because the only thing that's perfect is the dead thing or non existent. Actually, yeah, that's right. Because perfection is empty. Have a good night.